Okay, so welcome everyone. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy day and your schedule to be with us for this educational series. I am Jen French. I am honored to be on the board of the American Brain Coalition and your moderator for today. And our topic today is about collaborative partnerships and opportunities with the FDA. So we are really excited to talk about this topic with you today. And we also wanted to let you know is being recorded and it will be on the American Brain Coalition website. This webinar is also brought to you with generous support from the Dana Foundation. One of the key things that we always want to bring forward, particularly those that are in the community engagement world, is about this message that I love so much from Michael J. Fox about it's so simple that the people living with the conditions are the experts. They're the people that are living with the condition 24 hours, 7 days a week. And there's a lot of importance and a lot of value to that lived experience and bringing that not only to the table of development of new therapies, but also to help in the regulatory and payer process. And that's part of what we're talking about today is working with our friends at FDA and what we can do in terms of yielding our lived experience to the regulatory process. So with that, we want to keep that in mind about the value that you bring to the table. So for today, our agenda is packed, and we're excited to talk and to have our guest speakers today. So first, we're going to go over an overview of patient engagement, and that's brought to us by Tracy Gray from FDA. She is the health scientist and patient engagement lead at the Division of Patient-Centered Development at FDA. And then from there, April Marone will be talking about the overview of the TAP program, and she is the TAP advisor also with FDA. And then there we have our other guest speaker, talking about patient engagement with FDA and industry, which is Evelyn Stevens. Evelyn is with us from the Parkinson's Foundation. She has a wealth of experience in patient engagement, and she will yield to you some of her experiences. And then Katie Sale, who is our executive director of the American Brain Coalition, will talk a little bit about how you can get involved and how ABC's role is in with partnerships and opportunities with FDA. As we go through the presentations today, we will have a Q&A. So please put your questions into the Q&A box, and we will be going through those at the end and making sure that we address any questions that you have. So even if you come up with that question during the presentation, please feel free to put it in the Q&A box, and we'll be sure to catch that for you. So with that, we would love to lead into our presentation today, and I would like to hand it over to Miss Tracy Gray, and she'll talk to us about some patient engagement. Tracy?
Thank you so much, Jen. It's such a pleasure to be here this afternoon with all of you to really share some information about how we in CDRH amplify the patient's voice. Next slide, please. In CDRH, patients are truly at the heart of all we do. Next slide, please. Keep going. Thank you. One back. There we go. In CDRH, patients truly are at the heart of all we do. Our vision is for patients in the U.S. to have access to high quality, safe, and effective medical devices of public health importance. Next slide, please. Patients can inform FDA's regulatory work throughout the life cycle of a device in ways such as before and after a device receives approval to be marketed by the FDA, when a product is recalled, if that should occur, things such as signals that are brewing about safety concerns, and as well as developing clinical trials in how to assess the safety and effectiveness of a device. Next slide, please. At CDRH, we have partnerships, about 20 patient and caregiver connection partner organizations with whom we reach out to for insights that could be useful in medical device design, clinical studies, to evaluate medical devices, and post-market medical device safety monitoring and product refinement. We have patient organizations whose members' conditions are relevant to the device teams that regulate the product, and it's relevant to at least one or more of those teams. And some of the patient organizations have cross-team relevance. Next slide, and you can see them on the slide, and you'll note where ABC brain fit. I'm sorry, go back one. Right there in the red, American Brain Coalition, you can see where it's highlighted there in the red box. So we are proud to be working with you through TAP. Next slide, please. In CVRH, we engage patients in different ways, and this slide represents the various topics for some patient listening sessions and town halls that we've conducted. The listening sessions are really conversations with a small group of patients, and usually it involves one or two device teams. These conversations help the team to understand patients' experiences related to current regulatory work that's underway. The listening sessions that we had recently include topics listed on this slide, such as idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis and osseointegrated medical devices, just to name a couple. The town halls are generally a moderated patient panel discussion consisting of patients sharing their experiences living with the condition or using medical devices that are relevant to the work of multiple device teams. So it has a little bit broader appeal. And most of our, on the recent town hall that we conducted was with patients in the rare disease community who shared their experiences using devices in a non-traditional setting or facility, such as at home, work, or school. We gained perspectives from the members of the National Organization for Rare Disease called NORD. Next slide, please. We also engage patients in public workshops and FDA Medical Device Advisory Committee meetings. A recent FDA Medical Advisory Committee meeting included patients of color sharing their experiences with pulse oximeters. Their input was considered by the committee, who convened around the quality of pre-market studies and associated methods used to evaluate the performance of pulse oximeters submitted for pre-market review, considering skin pigmentation and patient-reported race and ethnicity. Next slide, please. We also have engaged patients on feedback on communications. Recently, members of the National Organization for Rare Disorders, NORD, once again, helped FDA to better understand rare disease patient and caregiver experiences with infusion pumps and to improve communications about these devices. First, we surveyed patients for initial feedback. Second, we conducted interviews with a smaller subset of survey completers to gain greater insights about their condition and experience using an infusion pump, and feedback about messaging on our webpage about infusion pumps. The survey, combined with the interviews, allowed FDA to have a clearer, patient-friendly information to support safe and effective use of infusion pumps. FDA will continue collaborating with patient organizations to get feedback about the clarity of our communications regarding use of infusion pumps. Next slide, please. Patient stakeholders such as yourselves are an important part, play an important part in the Total Product Lifecycle Advisory Program. Patient input in early stages of medical device development helps sponsors understand unmet customer or patient needs and burdens of the condition and current options in validating the target population's needs. Patient input in early stages is instrumental in helping sponsors to plan and execute clinical trials that could result in more streamlined protocol, better data, and smoother trials that demonstrate outcomes that are important to the target population. Ultimately, these efforts could lead to greater market access and adoption by patients needing the device. Next slide, please. This slide shows ways that using qualitative and quantitative methods that may be requested by TAP sponsors who are reaching out to you. These qualitative methods are used to obtain an in-depth understanding of patients' experiences and may occur through individual interviews or patient listening sessions, focus groups, or advisory boards. Some quantitative methods may be used to obtain quantifiable information to describe or compare patient experiences through flash polls or questionnaires and surveys. Next slide, please. Some lessons about what TAP sponsors want are shown on this slide. They'd like to have validated information about the population of interest, have an infrastructure to engage a diverse population of interest, and patient organizations who are prepared and enthusiastic about engaging. In addition, I want to point out that one of our sponsors noted that recruitment of a specific patient population for a clinical study may be challenging. And FDA's role to facilitate engagement with patient organizations, again, like your own, have abilities to survey and outreach large memberships and help to identify potential future patients for clinical trials that have impact. Excuse me. Surveys returned, in their experience, the surveys returned hundreds of responses, which would help to inform future engagement in clinical study recruitment efforts. And now I'd like to turn it over to April to share some information about the Total Product Lifecycle Advisory Program. April?
Great, thank you, Tracy. So let me get my computer to be convinced to switch to my presentation. Okay, and am I sharing my slides?
Yes, we can see them.
Great. Okay, success. Okay, so thank you, Tracy, for that great introduction. My name is April Marone. I am an advisor with the Total Product Lifecycle Advisory Program here at CDRH. Today, I will speak to the goals of TAP and what we are trying to do, and then, of course, how patient insight is so important to our vision. Okay, the picture here shows the typical medical device development process. It starts with an idea, and if successful, ends with widespread physician and patient access. The FDA, we've worked with industry to optimize least burdensome approaches to meeting FDA's regulatory requirements. However, FDA is just one stakeholder in what is often a prolonged sequential process where frequent rework and late-stage failure really can stifle innovation. And timely patient access is to safe and effective medical devices is within the mission of CDRH. So TAP, the Total Product Lifecycle Advisory Program, is intended to address this challenge. TAP stresses that early, frequent, coordinated stakeholder input speeds patient access by helping innovators optimize their evidence collection strategies for faster commercialization. The foundation for TAP is transparency and predictability, so the innovators can better understand that journey up front and then be prepared for it. So at TAP, there are TAP advisors. These are brand new positions created within CDRH for the TAP pilot. The TAP advisor team holistically has experience across the medtech ecosystem. So for example, my background is in regulatory. The TAP advisor's job, so my job is to build relationships and to listen. So to listen to innovators, listen to FDA staff, and to listen to the other non-FDA stakeholders across that medtech ecosystem, and then help innovators resolve feedback into a set of clinical and regulatory options. Okay, so enrollment in TAP is done on a device basis. So a company that has a device that meets the criteria to enroll in TAP can then voluntarily request to enroll. And if they meet the criteria, then they are enrolled. So the criteria are shown on this slide. So the first is that the device should have the breakthrough device designation, and I'll explain a little bit more about that in the next slide. The device should also be early in its developmental stage. And then there are other administrative requirements, the most important of which is that the office under which the device has its product jurisdiction should be participating in the TAP pilot. So right now, the TAP pilot is in the Office of Cardiovascular Devices and in the Office of Neurological and Physical Medicine Devices, where, of course, our great collaborator, ABC, fits into that device space. And we will be expanding for the next fiscal year, which starts on October 1, with the FDA. Okay, so the first criteria is that the device needs breakthrough device designation. So I'll remind everybody here what that is. So that is something that a company will come to the FDA and ask for their device, and they will support that ask with some evidence to support that there is a potential for technical and clinical success, and to provide for more effective treatment or diagnosis of life-threatening or irreversibly debilitating human disease or condition. So that's the first criteria by statute. And then one of these other criteria should then also be met to be able to obtain that designation. However, once that one is met, it's very difficult not to meet one of these other 4 criteria. Okay, so with TAP, there are strategic engagement goals. They are to provide for more timely pre-market interactions, to enhance experience throughout the device development and review process, to facilitate improved strategic decision-making, including that earlier identification, assessment, and mitigation of risk, to facilitate regular solutions-focused engagement between FDA innovators and non-FDA stakeholders, and to collaborate to better align expectations regarding evidence generation, improve submission quality, and then improve the efficiency of the pre-market review process. I do want to focus on this 4th bullet, as it is the most relevant to this conversation today. Okay, so FDA, we can provide regulatory insight. Of course, that is what we do. However, as noted on my previous slide, there are other considerations across the medtech ecosystem that stakeholders outside of the FDA are best positioned to engage with innovators on. So our innovators do want input on other topics. So they can kind of fall into general categories as shown here. So their evidence portfolio, coding, coverage, and payment. So reimbursement, which of course is very important for patient access. And then clinical practice and new technology adoption, where insight from patients is very important. So our stakeholders in general fit into what I call the 3 Ps, the patients, providers, and payers. And let me focus a bit on patients for our purposes here. So of course, developing a device intended to address a population is valuable, and patient input during that development is only going to add value. So that is why TAP stresses patient innovator engagement. We are leveraging the existing programs and relationship that CDRH has, such as the patient caregiver connection that Tracy just spoke to. And as established, those existing programs allow for patients to give input to CDRH. With TAP, we are refocusing to enable patients to give input directly to innovators, coordinating through TAP. And we are very appreciative of organizations who have agreed to collaborate via TAP, such as ABC. Okay, so I do want to give a few examples of patient-focused iterative engagements shown here. So let me walk through these. So the first one is on clinical evidence. So for this example, an innovator wants to understand how patients view trade-off between benefits and risks of a device. Focused group discussions are held with a relevant patient group. And then those discussions support that some patients are more risk tolerant than others. So then the innovator can use that information to design a patient preference study to support clinical study endpoints. So the second example is also clinical evidence focused. So in this example, an innovator wants to understand barriers to patient participation in their clinical study. Patient advisors are engaged to share challenges. And then further engagement includes discussions with clinical site investigators. And then the TAP innovator modifies the study participant criteria to eliminate barriers that do not impact patient safety. And then the third example is technical feedback. So here the innovator seeks feedback from patients on how their new technology would fit into daily management of their condition. So a listening session is held with patients to understand the current management and how the technology may have an impact. And then the innovator can consider that feedback in their device design to increase patient adherence to using the device. So in conclusion, I do want to emphasize that CDRH wants timely patient access to not only safe and effective, but high quality medical devices of public health importance. Patients in the US are our customers. We do appreciate the opportunity to work with innovators to help them understand risk associated with developing their technology so that they can then best mitigate that risk to position themselves for success. and their success is a win for patients. I do want to share with this group that FDA and NIH are having a group webinar next Monday to talk about some pathways with FDA for innovation, and then for NIH to share some information on their SBIR initiatives. And you can, of course, I'm happy to take questions here. You can email me anytime. Here's my email. We have a TAP pilot webpage, and we also have a program mailbox that you can send questions to. And of course, I'm just one member of the larger TAP team, so I'd like to give a thank you to that team, and of course to you for your time and attention today, and to ABC and Neurotech Network for allowing me to be here. Thank you.
I think that it means it's my turn. So thank you all. Let me go ahead and share my slides. All right, can you all see those?
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
Thank you so much. I want to thank you all for the opportunity to talk to you a little bit about what patient engagement means to the Parkinson's Foundation. I'm really excited to be here. At the Parkinson's Foundation, we are certainly committed to advancing research towards a cure, improving care, and bettering the lives of people with Parkinson's. We build on the energy and experiences of our global community, and everything that we do, we strive to do it with the Parkinson's community, and that includes research. And so I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about patient engagement and research. At the Parkinson's Foundation, we define patient engagement as the meaningful involvement of people with Parkinson's and care partners throughout the entire research and healthcare process. What we know and what we have seen is that when we create equal partnerships with people living with Parkinson's and care partners, when we recognize that they are experts because of their lived experiences, and when we engage them early and often in the research process, we really do have a unique opportunity to make sure that research is focused on what is most important to the community. We're able to better define unmet needs and community priorities, ensure endpoints and outcomes are meaningful to the community, and really maximize the efficiency and effectiveness of clinical trials. So we have a research advocacy program that is really framed within, the context of improving clinical trials. We know that research is too slow, it's often not meaningful, and so we engage, again, people with Parkinson's and care partners in the research process. We train them to become research advocates with the ultimate goal that they are primary partners working alongside scientists, industry, and government. We have had this research advocacy program since 2008. This is a model that's been adapted from HIV, AIDS, and breast cancer. And we've actually trained more than 400 people in research advocacy and patient engagement. If you scan that QR code, it'll take you directly to our webpage with more about our research advocacy program, some testimonials, and a timeline of what we've actually accomplished from 2008 to now. So I mentioned we've trained over 400 people living with Parkinson's and care partners. And so you may be wondering, what does that training look like? Why do we train the community? We really want to ensure that those living with Parkinson's and care partners have the skills, the knowledge, the comfort, confidence to really contribute in meaningful ways. And so our training really provides us with an opportunity to level set before they actually partner with industry in some of the collaborations that we build. And so we have an in-person interactive training that is actually taught by our foundation staff and some health and research professionals in the field. You can see a little snapshot of the agenda, but the courses are really designed to activate and empower the community, recognize their patient and voice, recognize what patient engagement means. We provide an overview of the research process, so the phases of research, the FDA process. We also talk about the Parkinson's research pipeline, what has happened historically, and where we are in this Parkinson's landscape. We talk about ethics, we talk about models of advocacy, how to evaluate and assess research. Again, the idea is that we're preparing them for these collaborations. In 2023, we launched an online course, which is a shorter version of the Learning Institute. The courses are very similar in nature, and that, again, focus on the power of the patient voice and what the research process looks like, what advocacy looks like. But the online course was really an opportunity for us to extend our reach, to offer this to more people who may not be able to attend an in-person Learning Institute, and the opportunity to take this at the convenience and the comfort of their home. So who are our research advocates? As I mentioned, we've trained over 400. We have an active network right now of about 150 to 200 research advocates. These are people with Parkinson's disease and care partners who live in the United States. We are looking for people who have a common interest in Parkinson's research. We have no expectations that you have to know everything about research or clinical trials or everything about the drug development process. We really strive to have a range of knowledge, different backgrounds, different experiences. We want people who want to learn how to work with researchers and scientists, but also return to their own communities to talk about why you should take part in research. We have right now a pretty equal distribution in terms of men living with Parkinson's disease, women living with Parkinson's disease, male care partners, female care partners, people that are in different spaces and places of their Parkinson's journey. So some young onset people living with Parkinson's, newly diagnosed, people that have been living with Parkinson's for quite some time. We are also very specific and intentional about engaging people from diverse backgrounds. Our last training in September 2023 was specifically and intentionally for the Black African American community. We trained 33 people in that cohort. And these are now people who are in their communities talking about research and collaborating with industry as we speak, and sharing their lived experiences as it relates to living with Parkinson's disease. And then we also make sure that we have people who are, have participated in clinical trials and people that have not participated in clinical trials, again, so that we are maximizing the opportunity to really collect robust feedback as industry is really working on developing drugs and treatments for Parkinson's disease. So this is a snapshot into our patient engagement portfolio. I know this can be a lot to digest. And so I want to take a moment and say, we do a lot of work in the industry space currently. We have a number of industry partners. These are just a few that we have interacted with relatively recently. We have just become a member of the TAP program, which we're really excited about. But beyond industry, we also engage the community in a number of different ways. In terms of the academic medical space, we have centers in our global care network, and we make sure that we have people from the community guiding those decisions, serving on patient advisory boards. We also have a strong presence in coalitions, and these are coalitions that are really designed to push and advance the field of patient engagement. And we do a lot of work internally with our research advocates. And so they are reviewing grants for us, they are helping us with outreach, and specifically outreach to our populations of focus, like the Spanish-speaking community, Black African American community. We also have a number of tools that we use to support these patient engagement collaborations. And I say this to say, I don't want you all walking away thinking you have to be an expert in this methodology and with these tools. I really, I think really walking away and understanding the value of patient engagement and what this means for the community, but also for researchers and scientists is what's most important. As part of our tools, though, we do have a survey registry, which gives us the ability to launch surveys to a pretty wide network of people living with Parkinson's and care partners and healthcare professionals. And so that's one tool that we use depending on the needs of the industry partner or the health center that we're working with. We also put together advisory boards, panels, focus groups, and individual interviews. And so how are our research advocates actually speeding research? They are certainly helping us prioritize research by serving on advisory boards, setting the research agenda, identifying unmet needs. They are working with industry to improve studies, so enhancing protocols, ensuring impactful outcomes, increasing study recruitment goals, and then influencing stakeholders. It's important that these research advocates be out in their communities. So many of them are, in fact, educating community members about research and research advocacy, collaborating for increased funding, and guiding government and sponsor decisions. Measuring success is also equally as important to us. And so we've published on our framework, as well as metrics to measure success. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that we have the right people at the table, that everyone was prepared, and that meaningful input was given. And when that happens successfully, we know that there'll be more patient engagement opportunities, more efficient and effective clinical trials and projects, and ultimately better quality of life for people living with Parkinson's disease. So I wanted to provide a case example of an advisory board that we actually have done with an industry partner. For this particular advisory board, we had 8 people living with Parkinson's and 2 care partners. And I think it was absolutely amazing to see that the takeaway message was that there were 29 actionable insights that these particular researchers are considering for their phase 2 trial. And as you can see in this table here, some of the insights that were discussed and brought forth by the community during this advisory board panel was related to drug formulation. Our people living with Parkinson's and care partners felt like color and logo was really important to help with differentiation of other medications they may be taking. And so the researchers are definitely taking this into consideration. It also came about on this advisory board panel is that we need to seek views from other communities because packaging may differ globally. The expected impact is that this would be a product designed to meet commercial and patient population requirements. We also talked about study visits. This particular group felt like 6 to 8 hour study visits are a lot. And so these particular researchers have now dropped a few questionnaires, developed short forms, and created forms that can be completed remotely. I say all this to say that, this advisory board panel led to many different changes to enhance that particular study protocol, and that these particular researchers now have this wealth of patient experience data to then present to the FDA as they move forward in the drug development process, which is the goal that we're striving for, is that drugs and treatments are made with the community so that we can, again, maximize the efficiency and effectiveness of clinical trials. As again, we collect feedback and measure success. We have gone back to this advisory panel, and I just want to say that they reported that this meeting actually exceeded their expectations. They did feel adequately prepared, and this is just one quote from one of those participants. They said, "I don't think I had any expectations ahead of the meeting, as I had only done one other similar event. It was a pleasant surprise that it was not overly scientific, but that there seemed to be genuine interest in people living with Parkinson's disease." And not specifically related to this case example, but we also survey researchers. Again, we want to make sure these collaborations are working, figure out areas of improvement. And what we've heard from researchers is that they are now more inclined to take part in patient engagement and research after partnership with our research advocates. They felt that our research advocates added input that was relevant, it enriched their thinking, and it really helped move their project forward more quickly. So with that, I would like to say thank you all. If anyone is interested, I know that was probably a lot to digest in a little short window of time, but I'm happy to discuss our patient engagement portfolio. To those on the call that are from patient organizations and are thinking about how to get involved more in this landscape and how to activate and empower your own communities to collaborate with researchers and scientists, I'm happy to talk to you all. And then I just want to shout out this beautiful photo of our last cohort that we trained in September. Again, this was the cohort that identified as Black African Americans. So we're really excited to now push them out into the field and build these collaborations with researchers and scientists. Thank you all.
Thanks, Evelyn. That was great, super interesting, and I'm excited to hear more as well. So let me dive right in so that we can get to some questions. Let me share my screen. All right. So As you know, I'm Katie Sale, Executive Director of the American Brain Coalition, and ABC is thrilled to have started collaborating with FDA. Our colleagues at FDA have really told us multiple times that they see real value in community engagement, including those with lived experience, their caregivers, and the advocates fighting for them. And you heard that from April and Tracy, and I know that they do feel that way. So there we go. As Jen mentioned, ABC received a generous grant funding from to participate in this program, and Dana has a new area of emphasis, and they're calling it neuroscience and society. And basically, this means that they're interested in fostering meaningful connections between neuroscientists, clinicians, patient advocacy groups, government agencies, and those living with brain diseases who are truly impacted by their work. So we're extremely thankful to the Dana Foundation for their support. Now, let me dive in. Why ABC? Why do we feel like ABC should be helping to collaborate with this program? And as you can see here, ABC represents what we say, one voice for the brain. So we're bringing together all of these groups listed here. And we do regularly work with all of these groups. I'm going to show you this next slide, which is just our nonprofit members, but this just gives you an idea of the different nonprofits members that we engage with regularly. And so ABC's real role in this program is really to coordinate efforts between the patient advocacy groups and the FDA device sponsors and the FDA. Because we have such a wide range of groups, we're uniquely positioned to reach out to the large community. Our collaborating partners are listed here. You've seen this logo a few times throughout April and Tracy's, and then Evelyn's. And we really thank them, for recognizing the value of engaging with FDA and ABC. This list is updated as new organizations engage, and we encourage collaborating organizations to proudly display the seal listed here on their websites, which I know Evelyn has done for Parkinson's Foundation. So thank you. So that, members can be aware of the partnership as well. Now, what does it mean to be a collaborating partner? I guess that's the biggest question here, right? So we've begun as a first step by developing profiles for patient and advocacy groups in hopes of obtaining a wide range of information on their organization. This profile will assist FDA and device companies in determining how the organization can be most helpful. The profile asks for a range of questions from organizations, membership reach, demographics, mechanisms for engagement, resources, training programs available, and to their degree of involvement with device companies. And I want to point out here and note that little or no prior involvement with device companies is necessary for engagement in this program, and that's really important to note. And I know the Parkinson's Foundation was a great example of someone who truly has great experience already, but we know that some of our organizations just don't have that experience. And that's why ABC is here for you. Really, we're offering our assistance in a number of ways, from creating profiles, scheduling meetings, putting together agendas, compiling minutes, and follow-ups. Even just listening to what Evelyn said, there's listening sessions that could occur. There are, further discussions around clinical site investigators, as you said, you were using those examples. Those are things that, ABC can kind of help facilitate that. And so we are here to do that for you. And there's a number of different ways to do that. So the profile would be, we put together the profile and give that back to FDA so that they have it on hand and they can use it as they need to and as they want to engage with us and engage with you. And so that's kind of the first step, and that's what we're looking for within collaboration as a first step. And then should you be asked to have conversations with device company sponsors, then we would help arrange that and can, to the best that we can, and to help you as you want to be helped in that regard. I want to, hold on, I'm excited. Oh, there we go. So, I'm excited that I have two staff members helping me. Many of you know Craig Obie. He is a nonprofit executive leader who was a former ABC board member for 4+ years. He's now serving as our senior advisor to this program. And I'm also excited to announce Kira Irby, our newest hire, to help with this program. Kira received her master's degree in multidisciplinary biomedical science with a neuroscience concentration in 2021, and was a research intern at GW School of Medicine under Dr. Robert Turner, who is the leader of the Black Men's Brain Health, who is also an ABC member. And then obviously I would be remiss in not mentioning Jen French, who has been instrumental in providing her leadership of this program. Jen, Craig, Kira, and I are here to assist in any way moving forward. And I really look forward to working with you all and hope that you'll consider engaging with us. Like I said, as a first step, by creating a profile, and from there we'll see and just continue to work with FDA in TAP and their other patient engagement areas. So with that, I'm going to turn it over back to Jen for our Q&A.
Great, thanks, Katie, and thank you to all of our speakers, Evelyn, April, and Tracy. Thank you so much for providing your expertise here. We do have questions we would love to get to with you, and there are a variety out there. So let's start with some of them. There was a question in there from Mo about, and this I think is directed more towards Tracy and April, is have you had any prior listening sessions with organizations or advocacy groups that are focused on mental health research?
So,
This is Katie, and I can take this for the FDA. So speaking for FDA broadly, we do have, I believe there was a patient-focused medical product development meeting a number of years back that looked at a variety of mental health conditions, and we continue to have listening sessions internally to educate our staff on the patient experience for a variety of these. But as we all know, this is such a broad and large impact public health area with constant changes in terms of what we understand in terms of the science, as well as the innovations that are coming down the pike. So if your organization works in this space and has interest in bringing some of your members and patients' experiences to bear to help us in our ongoing efforts in this area, please do reach out to us about that.
Great, thanks, Kate. And Tracy, are there organizations that are involved in the patient affairs or the patient and caregiver connection program, or some of the other programs that you have that are in the mental health space?
So I'm trying to think. I don't know about directly in the mental health space. Not that I can think of, but I don't know how people necessarily evaluate patients or members who may have mental health considerations. So they could be a part of their larger body, but we typically align we bring on organizations based on the device teams and their specialty. And so that's generally how they're brought on. So specifically for mental health, nothing comes to mind. Katie, did you have anything that you could add to that? Or
there were a number of organizations, patient organizations that we did collaborate with for the patient-focused medical product development meeting. I can look for the link and share that for those attending here who might be interested in seeing what was done a few years ago. I know several of your members were a part of that.
Great, thank you. Thank you. And to Evelyn, could you share, or are you willing to share kind of what you went through in the process of getting involved with TAP and developing your profile for TAP?
Sure. It was a pretty seamless process. I think you all had reached out to us and perhaps have seen some of our patient engagement work in the past. And from there, I had met with Craig on the TAB team, and he had sent over a number of questions that are used, I guess, in the registry. And the questions are really just about our program, our work, how we're working to with populations of focus or communities that have been historically marginalized. What can we offer in terms of tools and resources as we work with industry? All questions that I felt pretty confident in answering. And, Craig had said I can either type those questions or just give that information to him over a Zoom call, which I elected to do because that was a lot easier. And so we spent some time chatting, and he put everything into the form for me, sent it back for my review. And then from there, we, participated in the meet and greet and look forward to next steps.
Excellent. Thanks, Evelyn. And to that point, Katie, I mean, what if there's an organization that's out there that might not have the capacity or the time, if you will, or some of the skill sets that Evelyn has to complete a profile? How will ABC help organizations out there?
Yeah, so that's really what ABC is here for, is to help to do that, to facilitate that, to, as you said, Evelyn, you were able to just answer your questions and let Craig work his magic. So we're willing to do more of that. We can set up meetings, facilitate meetings, with your, sometimes we reach out to folks and they say, oh, we need someone else from our staff, or we need one of our, volunteer leaders to help here. And so we can facilitate that as well. And then should there be opportunity to engage with the device sponsor, they may want to have multiple meetings, they may want to have agendas put together. And so we can suggest certain agenda materials and agendas and say, here we go, we can write up minutes for you, take notes on that. And just make sure that we're helping in any way that we can. We can even, write, little blurbs for your social media, should you wish to discuss, talk about it in social media and that kind of thing.
Great. Thanks, Katie. I appreciate that. So to April, maybe could you address maybe what type of expectations that you're hearing from TAP sponsors, and maybe what people can expect when they have a TAP, when you have a TAP sponsor, and maybe some kind of further, you provided some examples, but maybe a little bit further of what people can expect from a TAP sponsor.
Sure. So, our TAP sponsors are very early in their device development, and we are an all-comer program. So we have companies enrolled in TAP that are, as small as one person or as large as, very large companies. But the general, profile of our innovators is that, they are not really savvy with device development, and they have really great ideas, and they're, really looking for ways to turn those great ideas into technologies that are going to address unmet clinical needs. And, they're not always, some folks come in and they're like, hey, we are on it. We are already engaging patients. We have patient advisory boards set up, and, we are definitely getting the patient voice, and we're like, great, you've already got that aspect to tap down. Please carry forward. But others are, they do not know how to go about getting that patient voice into their device development. And they may not even really know how to, really engage with patients. So it could be that, the companies our innovators need kind of a lot of education themselves to kind of understand, to know what they don't know, and to know, kind of what's the best way to engage with patient groups. And, similar to ABC, the TAP program is committed to working with the innovators to get them prepared to engage patients meaningfully, and really, facilitate those engagements so our innovators can get their products developed the way that they need to. And then, of course, patients can provide that insight during that development process. So then at the end of the day, they have something that's going to meet their needs.
Excellent. Thanks, April. That's really helpful to understand the expectations. This one's to Evelyn. Evelyn, What challenges have research advocates faced, specifically talking about African American communities, and also just in general? And that questions from Kirby in our audience.
Yeah, I thought that was an excellent question. I saw it came through the chat and was really excited to answer it. In terms of challenges that research advocates experience, I think in general across the board is that sometimes they do not feel that they are qualified enough to sit next to a researcher or a scientist and contribute in meaningful ways. And we spend a lot of time letting them know their lived experiences is what matters most. You do not need to know the scientific jargon, the technical terms that are being thrown out there. And then I will also add what we do really advocate for is with our industry partners is to develop pre-read materials, any sort of a glossary of terms that can help. We have found, especially with the Parkinson's community, even though we do the training, it's not a one and done, that it has to be a continued effort in terms of re-educating them on the phases of research and, what randomization means, what double blind means, like all of those technical terms. And so we work that out with our industry partners to ensure that our advocates feel comfortable with the opportunities and collaborations that they may have. And then I will flip that. I know the question was about the African American community. I will say what we have learned with this particular community is they're just not quite yet ready to work with researchers and scientists. And I think that's okay. I think in the context of understanding, some of the health disparities that they have gone through with getting a diagnosis, access to care, these advocates really just want to share their story. And so they want to be out in their community. They want to be attending community clinics. They want to present at their church. And so we are supporting all of that right now and continuing to educate them and provide examples on what the collaborations and partnerships look like with industry to kind of push them in that direction of working with our industry partners. And so that's some of the lessons that we have learned with that group.
Excellent. Thanks, Evelyn. And I'm going to direct this because I have Evelyn unmuted, but I'd like to also direct this to the rest of the panelists as well. Evelyn, your organization has some wonderful training programs for your research advocates. Are there other training tools or research or resources out there that people can learn about engagement that you all might recommend to those that are attending this webinar?
I can start. Yeah. So I would definitely encourage you to visit our webpage, which has a lot of information. And then on the slide where I showed you our portfolio, I think the coalitions would be exactly where to start. And these are groups that are really focused on patient engagement. We partner with them in the capacity of being on their strategic advisory boards and having memberships, but these are groups like the National Health Council, Patient-Focused Medicines Development, again, all really designed to help push this field forward of patient engagement, and they have a number of tools and resources available.
Great, thanks.
And I would just echo that, what Evelyn said. Same thing with ABC's website that has a number of resources, but so many of our member groups have great patient engagement resource opportunities and to get involved, and training tools within the different disease groups as well. So I think there are opportunities to engage.
Excellent. April or Tracy, would you like to add to that topic?
No, I didn't know. I agree with what was said. There's some excellent resources out there, and FDA also has some wonderful resources on things that we've done. We are actually in the process of developing an education program that will be externally facing to help patients to prepare for effective engagement with sponsors. So hopefully that will, be of benefit.
Excellent, thank you. Also, Mo in our audience asks, how important is having partnership and industry partners? Are they to the CDRH and the FDA? And do I need to have industry partners and other advocacy groups to get involved? I think the question is more is do the advocacy organizations need to bring their partners with them?
Bring their industry partners with them. They do not. Yeah, I apologize. I'm having a little bit trouble kind of understanding the question.
Yeah, I think the question is well, if I want to get if I'm with an advocacy organization and I want to get involved in the TAP program, do I already need to have relationships with industry, or is it you all that are bringing the industry partners to the advocacy organizations?
Right. So I guess the industry partners are coming from TAP, right? Because we are enrolling, our innovators, which are device developers, i.e. Industry. So, we're really focusing on what are the needs for those individual innovators to be successful. So we would coordinate then those relationships. So if you are interested in becoming a TAP collaborator, you can reach out to me. I have my email that was in the slides. It's my first name dot my last name at fda.hhs.gov, or the TPLC Advisory Program mailbox.
Excellent. Thanks, April. And April, while we're on the topic, what is the importance of transparency in the process of working with it between a TAP a sponsor and a patient advocacy organization?
Right. So that's a great question. So that is really, the foundation of TAP is transparency and predictability, because the way the medtech development ecosystem is operating in general now is that it's really unknown what is that level of evidence that is needed to get from that idea to, widespread patient access. So having an understanding of what the needs are and what the evidence that associates with those needs are upfront really helps the innovators map out that pathway to the ultimate goal of patient access. And then they can decide what is the best way to do that, for how they want to do that as a business, and then execute that plan, and hopefully, be successful and have an idea what it's going to take to be successful and be able to plan for that accordingly.
Great, thanks, April. And Katie, for ABC, when you're involved with maybe some organizations that don't have a lot of sophistication, how does ABC help with that engagement between a TAP sponsor and an advocacy organization that maybe don't have the capacities?
Yeah, so I think we're happy to really do anything that this organization wants us to do to help. We can handhold, we can give a lot of background information, try to get as much background information as we can, try to as Evelyn said, there doesn't need to be a sophistication there. We're not looking for that. And if it seems like there are some things that the organization's not quite understanding about what the device is doing, we can have further meetings. We can make sure that they truly understand what the device is doing. And we're happy to kind of ask those questions and say, what do we need more information on? And so we really can do that for folks, and happy to do that.
Excellent. Thanks, Katie. Well, we are at the top of the hour. Our hour went so quickly. I would like to thank our panelists, Tracy Gray, April Marone, Evelyn Stevens, and Katie Sale for joining us today. And we would like to thank you all for joining us and taking time out of your Friday to join this webinar to learn about more collaborative partnerships with FDA. This has been recorded. It will be on the ABC website. So if you missed anything or would like to review it, or if you would like to share it with your friends and colleagues, you can find the recording there. So thank you so much, everyone. And we hope to see you involved in these partnerships. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.